he is a non-working royal. He basically is unemployed, so he might as well enjoy his time by participating in jokes. I think the greater part of it is that he is expanding as who he is as a person. He's on that platform.
Is he? Really?
And I think the actual person, the subject of the joke, agrees with him. So I've heard Donald Trump joke about he is the king of America.
Well, he put out that AI thing on a plane. He's wearing a crown and he's dumping.
He agrees. The American public agrees that he is acting like a king. He has expanded his executive power beyond the normal reach of a president. So I don't understand what the misnomer is.
I suppose. Do you honestly think that Harry is kind of embarking on this great kind of expansion of his person? He's got nothing to do. He's on there. He's on there because he pops up in his wife's Christmas, film thing. He pops up and says one line, and that's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. He kind of like he's
being himself.
Pointless person,
and he's very happy. Clearly, look how happy he looks here. Look how happy he looks in that setting.
Why do people get so wound up about Harry and Meghan?
They hate the fact that he has found a life beyond the royals.
He hates the UK, as does she.
What's your evidence that he hates the UK?
Well, because there's things he said about the royal family also. I mean, we have to rewind back to when they left the country. It was just before COVID, a point at which we really needed our royal family. The Queen was genuinely a kind of sort of calming presence, and they scarpered off at the moment when actually he had a role he could have played, and he didn't do that.
His dad and older brother both stopped talking to him and both planted stories about him and his wife.
Because he had a terrible wife.
Okay, let's not go back digging into that. But the
last time we saw him, he was lurching about on a Ring doorbell, wasn't he? And unable to find the right house in London. I mean, he's not a man.
Who doesn't like him, you sure do know a lot about what he's been up to.
Yesterday on Jeremy Vine, something rare and refreshing finally happened on British daytime television. For once, the endless noise, the recycled outrage, the performative pearl-clutching around Prince Harry and Meghan met someone who simply refused to play along. Marvyn Harrison walked into that studio calm, grounded, clear-headed, and completely unapologetic about one simple truth. Prince Harry is happy in America, and instead of frothing at the mouth like so many commentators do when Harry's name is mentioned, Marvyn did something radical. He asked the question everyone else seems terrified to ask out loud. Why do people get so unbelievably wound up about Harry and Meghan? Why does their existence provoke this level of obsession, hostility, and emotional investment from total strangers? What followed was one of the most quietly devastating takedowns of the British fixation on the Sussexes we've seen in a long time. No shouting, no theatrics, just logic, emotional intelligence, and facts. Marvyn made it plain from the start. He wasn't speaking as a royal fanboy. He wasn't there to flatter anyone. He was speaking as a human being watching another human being rebuild his life after, unimaginable pressure, trauma, grief, and relentless public abuse. He pointed out the obvious. Harry is settled. He has a life in California. He has a wife who loves him. He has 2 children growing up away from the constant intrusion that defined his own childhood. He has purpose. He works. He gives back. He smiles. He looks healthier than he has in years. And instead of celebrating that, vast portions of the British commentariat behave as if his happiness is some kind of personal insult to them. Then came the moment that completely threw the anti-Harry side off balance. Marvyn turned directly to Alexis Conran and Lowri and asked, simply and calmly, why does it bother people so much that Harry and Meghan are living their lives? Why does it provoke such fury? Why is the fixation so intense? And suddenly, the usual scripted outrage had nowhere to hide. Because when you strip away the noise, the traitor accusations, the endless tabloid framing, what exactly is the crime here? A man left a system that was harming him. A couple removed themselves from an environment that was hostile to their mental health and unsafe for their family. They built a life elsewhere. That's it. That's the entire story. Everything else has been manufactured into controversy by people who cannot stand the idea that Harry chose freedom over obedience. Marvyn didn't frame Harry as rebellious. He framed him as liberated, and that distinction matters immensely. Harry didn't storm out in a tantrum. He didn't sabotage anyone. He didn't collapse into bitterness. He walked away, quietly rebuilt, sought therapy, confronted generational trauma, and chose to break cycles instead of repeat them. That alone threatens the entire mythology that the royal machine depends on, because the system only works if everyone accepts that suffering in silence is noble and escape is betrayal. Lowri Turner, like so many before her, tried to lean into the familiar narrative that Harry somehow owes the public continued access to his pain, his family, his location, his choices. Marvyn dismantled that with quiet precision. He reminded everyone that Harry's life belongs to Harry, not to the press, not to opinion panels, not to self-appointed guardians of, British tradition. He doesn't owe anyone proximity to his children. He doesn't owe anyone a life of constant public exposure. And honestly, he certainly doesn't owe anyone misery just to prove loyalty. Then Alexis Conran leaned on the idea that the obsession comes from Harry being, public property by virtue of his birth. Marvyn immediately cut through that illusion. Birth does not cancel autonomy. Being born into a royal family does not sentence someone to lifelong captivity. Harry did not sign a lifelong contract when he was born. He did not consent to the press intrusion that followed him from nursery school to adulthood. And he certainly did not consent to seeing his wife and child targeted in the same way his mother once was. And this is where the conversation turned from commentary into something much deeper. Because Marvyn wasn't just defending Harry's happiness. He was pointing directly at the sickness of entitlement that fuels so much of the hatred. The idea that the public owns Harry. The idea that he must perform suffering to satisfy strangers. The idea that he must remain trapped simply because tradition demands it. Let's be honest. This so-called weird or righteous fixation Marvyn referred to is not about duty. It's not about constitutional importance. It's not even about monarchy. It's about control. It's about resentment toward a man who had the audacity to walk away from a role that many believe should trap him forever. It's about punishing him for refusing to be permanently available for consumption. And Marvyn spoke what many quietly think, but, few actually say on British television. The obsession is not righteous. It is weird. It is deeply, profoundly weird. It is weird to spend years raging over where a man lives. It is weird to monitor his visa status like a national emergency. It is weird to analyze his facial expressions in family photographs. It is weird to obsess over whether he smiles appropriately at public events he no longer even attends. And honestly, it is weird to attack his wife daily and then claim concern for his well-being in the same breath. None of this is normal. None of this is healthy. None of this is rooted in reasoned civic interest. Marvyn brought the focus back to reality. Harry is not a working royal. He stepped down. He does not represent the crown. He does not spend public funds in Britain. His life does not affect the average person's mortgage, tax bill, hospital access, or schooling. And yet people rage as if his happiness is somehow stealing oxygen from their own lives. That disconnect is exactly what Marvyn exposed. Then came the most powerful undercurrent of the entire discussion. The unspoken truth about why Meghan is always dragged into this with such venom. Marvyn didn't need to spell it out for viewers to understand. The hostility toward Meghan has always been racialized, gendered, and weaponized through the press. From the beginning, she was framed as the disruptor, the foreign woman, the ambitious woman, the woman who took Harry rather than the woman who simply loved him. And because she does not fit the old mold of royal obedience, she became the perfect scapegoat for every resentment people already carried toward Harry's independence. Marvyn defended Meghan the way she so rarely gets defended on British panels, as a human being, not a symbol. A woman who married a man she loved. A woman who faced relentless abuse. A woman who nearly lost her life to the pressure.